Non of letter non slides again. Yeah.
I can't stick it anywhere. Okay, we'll continue. We are of course way behind my schedule, but I thought it would be good to kind of answer many questions that you have in the beginning before we move on. Uh, the main aspect of outcome-based education is the focus shifts from teacher to the student. Simple. From a teacher centricity to student centricity. So whatever we do, finally our goal is whether the student has learned or is capable of doing something as a consequence of learning.
Sir, mic is not working.
Is not working? It's on. Can you? No. Again, contact. Can you hear me? No? So it is making noise.
Hello. Hello.
It doesn't like me. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's see how long it will last.
Antenna, it is standing on the you won't
So the main characteristic of the outcome-based education is it better?
Yes.
Let's see. Uh,
Between this frequency,
antenna is just
okay, antenna.
Because you have to look at the entire education now from a student perspective. Whether the student has learned, if he hasn't been able to learn, where is the issue? You focus on the issues related to. Huh?
No, you want to sit here.
No, if I want to sit, I don't want to sit. That is the problem. Whether the student has learned or not, if the student hasn't learned, where is the issue? Teaching is only part of that, right? Teaching means, as we understand, transferring the knowledge by the teacher in the classroom. That is what we consider as defined formally as teaching. Now, besides that, yes, you can say that student has to work, it's certainly true. But we know, for example, even in a group like this, do you consider that everyone is paying 100% attention? No. So, why is it that they are not paying attention? Attention is the most precious commodity in the entire world, whether business-wise or in the classroom. So the first duty of the teacher is to how to get the attention of the student. I may not be able to pay attention to something for a variety of reasons. I fought with somebody at home, or I didn't have a proper breakfast, or it can be any countless number of reasons how and why I'm not paying attention. And what does the student do if he's not paying attention in the classroom? So mentally he drops out. And then he'll say he will go and talk to his friends later outside the classroom and try to learn something from that, or go to the textbook or do something. So first of all, learning doesn't take place 100% in the classroom. That is because nobody can pay 100% attention to anything that is present in the classroom. Even when the student is not able to understand something. When he is not able to pay attention, for some reason he has not understood something. Then what happens? There is a little gap between his understanding and the teacher has moved on to the next topic or next concept. So there is a gap that gets created. And once the gap is slightly larger, again the mental he drops. Again he postpones that how to pick it. So major problem is really the attention. How do I pay? How do I get the attention of the student? In fact, the psychologists or the doctors, they consider, you must have heard about the ADHD, attention deficiency as they call it, which many kids have, and this kind of continues into higher education as well. Attention deficiency. It can be physiological reasons or social reasons, financial reasons. If you are coming from a very poor family and you have a lot of issues to keep worrying about, so you can have endless number of reasons for attention deficiency. So as a teacher, you have to acknowledge that there can be a problem. So there has to be some kind of attempt to get the attention of your listener or the student. So merely having a set of nice lecture notes and putting down on the blackboard is not equivalent to a good student learning. Okay. So you have to look at many hundreds of additional issues besides transferring good knowledge. And that is why the shift from teacher centricity to learner centricity comes. Of course, a good teacher wants implicitly students to learn. And some good teachers find intuitively their own way of getting the attention of the student, transferring nice problems, giving the right kind of anecdotes and so on. They learn intuitively. But percentage of those teachers will always remain maybe 10-15%. So you require a little more formal process, more formal thing. If you follow these methods, possibly the issues can be addressed much better. Okay? And that is where the outcome-based education comes. So outcomes provide a basis for effective interaction among faculty as well, or the stakeholders. That is, if I say exactly, if I write, this is what my student should be able to do, as a consequence of this learning, then I can communicate to you. You may disagree with that. Then you can say, can you change the outcome like this? So it forms an excellent mechanism of interaction among faculty members or among the stakeholders. Can I write in a language that the industry expert also understands? Why should it not be? Because generally the dialogue between faculty and industry breaks down after the first sentence. Faculty will say, oh, concepts are more important. And faculty will say, the industry will use a language where they must have the right kind of skills that are usable immediately after graduation. Actually, if you are willing to go to the next sentence, both mean the same. We will see presently in the afternoon. First of all, we use the word concept, left, right, and center, right? They're most important. I'm going to ask you a question in the afternoon. Can you define what a concept is for me? Okay? By afternoon, you think about it, we'll ask the question. You have to give one sentence. Concept is, complete the sentence. Think about it. All of you, all faculty, on the drop of the hat, everybody will say concepts are the only important things for us. Okay? Now, if you can see the figure from far up distance, I'm going to share the slides with you. You will have access to the slides. Somewhere I need to use the. Do I have that? Right. It got separated into parts. This way. Okay. Okay, this is a mechanism all of you know, but I'm just putting it graphically. The graduates of 12th standard enter an institute, right? But what is an institute? An institute is nothing but management, faculty, and some academic process, right? That's what an institute is. And this is a kind of, it operates under the regulations as given by the university, state government, AICTE, NBA, and the kind of technology that you are using, industry, parents, all of them have some influence on the process, academic processes that you are following, right? And then they produce engineering graduates. Engineering graduates means who pass exams, right? This is what the situation was until 2015. And then what happens, these graduates seek placement, majority of them seek placement in some place. And a few will go for higher education, pass the GATE or GRE, GMAT or whatever exams, and still very small number will become entrepreneurs. But generally, immediately after graduation, very small number will become entrepreneurs. But these are the only three options that graduates do. But this is for example, the placement or any of this is decided by social factors. You have economic factors and market factors. And these are not in the control of the institution. They have to be aware of these factors, but they do not control. For example, if there are no jobs now in a particular sector, that is, the institute cannot do anything about it. So these are outside the purview of the institute. And the only qualification there is only engineering graduates passing the exams. But just passing the exams, can you guarantee that they have necessary skills and knowledge? We don't know. It depends on what kind of exam you are conducting. So, slightly it got changed after 2015. It is still the same. Graduates of 12th standard enter the institute, and the institute produces under the same conditions. Parents, industry, technology, university, state government, AICT, NBA. Now we say engineering graduates with defined abilities. Instead of merely passing the exams, we now say with defined abilities. These are expressed in terms of three: program outcomes, program specific outcomes, and course outcomes. These are the three. And this is what we try to test whether they have achieved this, attained these outcomes. And again, the other part will remain the same, namely the social factors, economic factors, influence the placement. And another thing that is added, when I'm training, when I designed the program, on what basis do I design? If I'm designing a civil engineering program, let us say, what is the basis? I want him to be a good civil engineer, right? Otherwise, there is no meaning. Who is a good civil engineer? We will discuss among all the concerned experts and say, these are the characteristics of a good civil engineer. But let us say that fellow doesn't have the graduation, doesn't do any civil engineering. Okay, so then what happens? The program itself has no meaning. I am training somebody as a good civil engineer who doesn't want to be civil engineer, right? So that is where the problem is. Then they say you talk about program educational objectives. That means 4 to 5 years after graduation, my graduates are still working in the area related to my particular discipline. Whatever activity they are doing. They can be researchers, they can be manufacturers, they can be marketing products, whatever they do, but it is broadly in the same area as the discipline in which I have trained. After 5 years, what happens? That we cannot control because it depends on the kind of experiences he has got, how he wants to grow. The institute has absolutely no control of it, and it should not. Okay? So what happens is, and those are expressed as program educational objectives, PEOs. But we know that the current market conditions are a bit distorted for the last 2 decades. That everywhere you use the ICT tools, and everyone wants to get into ICT profession for different reasons. One is you're sitting in a nice AC room in front of the screen. Okay, what more comfortable job could you have? A civil engineer will have to go and work in the field. So why should we? We cannot even say no. His wish. So you have an institute has a little problem on its hands. How do I perceive? Then the only option that you have closed is civil engineering. Convert those seats into ICT seats. So you have a little dilemma on this. But as far as NBA accreditation is concerned, strictly speaking, you have to make sure that the engineers that you are training are continuing to operate in your discipline. That is, you have to close the loop. But they said now the market is very continuously changing, so they are not insisting that you have to prove your graduates are continue to be in the same area. They say you write your PEOs, you take care of all the activities, that is your mission statements, the way you write your POs, they're all aligned with your discipline, but we are not forcing you to prove that your graduates are in this particular. Right now, that is the current situation. And I think all of you are familiar with this. I will not go one by one each month. You are required to submit a CAR. We are not spending time on the details of NBA accreditation process. And it consists of two parts, institutional information as well as departmental information. And you prepare according to this criteria we presently see. The way you submit your data, the visiting committee will ensure that whether it is in compliance with that, and they want to verify. And based on that, they will give you some feedback as well as send a report to the NBA agency whether it can be accredited or not. So these are the criteria, 10 criteria that you have. For the first time you are going to NBA accreditation, first time when you go. Again, I will not spend too much time on details of this criteria, but if you look at both tier 1 and tier 2 institutions, maximum marks are given to faculty information contributions. So there was a lot of discussion in 2015 about how many marks should be given. Everybody acknowledges the faculty are the change agents in an institution. They identify their central role in the whole education process. And that's why they want faculty to be the right kind of faculty. And that is how maximum marks are given to faculty. Whatever, you may disagree with some details in terms of their qualification, experience, what they are doing technically, in what way they are contributing. They consider, that's why maximum marks are given 200 out of 1,000. Again, I will not discuss all the details. Now, what happened at that time when it was created, obviously that is first time for everything. So they focused only on the first time when you go for accreditation. But if you want to go for second time accreditation, they don't want you to go through the same level of detail on everything. And provided the college got 6-year accreditation, which not many colleges do. Okay, if you got 6-year accreditation, then second cycle, the number of marks is reduced to 500, and as you can see, there are only 6 criteria. But if you got a 3-year accreditation, 10 criteria you have to go. So that is the current situation. Some institutions are coming to the second cycle accreditation. Okay. I will not again further discuss the detail. Roughly, as your tier 2 institution, full accreditation for 6 years requires 750 out of 1,000 points. And this is the nice thing about it. You can score at some places, and because of the nature of your institute, you cannot score on some of the others. Okay, focus on where you can score. After all, that is how you advise your students, right? Student will also see where he can get more marks. So same approach can be applied to NBA accreditation. And you are not doing anything wrong. Whatever it is asking, I'm doing. And my focus is to get 750 out of 1,000. Okay, the details I will not. And initially, there were no minimum criteria for minimum marks for any particular criteria. So we got into a kind of funny situations in the beginning. Like if you have one extra bus transporting your students, it is equivalent to one professor. You get the same number of marks. Okay. Actually, when you put marks, it is like that. Or if you have 2 more photocopiers in the department, you will get one lecturer less. You can same marks. Something like that. It was coming down. So then it was converted that criteria 4, 5, and 6 must get 60% minimum marks. So you can't, canteens and buses and these cannot be traded with the other kind of. Okay. So the minimum you have to have 60% points criteria 4 and 5 and 6. And 30% of the required faculty would mean number of students per class or number of faculty per the student. That 30% of the required faculty should have PhDs. That is the requirement. Then you get 6 year accreditation. Okay. So if it is a 3-year accreditation, you have some watering down of the requirements because they don't want to just immediately start closing the colleges. So they tell you, okay, I'm giving you little more time, try to correct yourself. And as of now, many colleges seem to be comfortable with this. Okay, I'll come to you every 3 years with my documents. I'll consider because I cannot afford to. I'm not getting PhD faculty, nor am my number of students getting admitted is not growing. Whatever reason. Okay. And there is also no accreditation under some extreme conditions. Okay. How did now we come to all that we are talking about MBA? The MBA wants you to conduct your education in the framework of OB. Outcome-based. Where did it all start? Actually, it started way back in 60s and 70s when the focus started shifting to what students are learning rather than what teachers are teaching. And but the word outcome-based education was coined by one William Spady back in 1995. He wrote a book on, but mainly focusing on school education. He wrote a book, and in fact, if you want to read the book, it is available free on the internet. But the language he will use is Black India, and mainly meant for schools. The interesting thing is, while it is done in 1995, in the book by William Spady, the ABET, which is the Accreditation Board of Engineering and Technology, PSA, see by immediately in 97, they have adopted it for engineering programs. That is the national body for accreditation of engineering programs. They readily adopted it. They immediately realized the importance of it. And then they called it EC 2000. And they defined a set of criteria, which also they use slightly different words, but our POs and PSOs, COs, the same terminology is brought. Okay. So here, outcome-based education means clearly focusing and organizing everything in educational system around what is essential for all students to be able to do successfully at the end of their learning experiences. So, what are the learning experiences? It is at the course level. There could be projects, and then there is a program, 4-year program. So at the end of each, whenever that unit that you have defined, like a course, and within a course you also have an instructional unit, which can be a work of a few hours. But whatever learning experience that you have, at the end of learning experience, the student should be able to do something. Can I define? That is what so broadly the idea for outcome-based education. That means the three aspects of teaching and learning are curriculum. The word curriculum is used at both course level as well as the program. Okay. Curriculum of a course means what you call it syllabus. Curriculum of a program is your entire 4 year. Okay. So curriculum, then you have instruction, and then you have assessment. These are the three main components of any teaching and learning. Okay. So all decisions, all activities related to these three aspects are decided in the framework of outcome-based education. See, one is not sequential. That is, I teach something and I will ask something in the exam. You cannot take that kind of sequence. How do you determine the student has learned? Okay, pardon?
Test and other things. We conduct the test and other things, other things.
That means your examination, if I translate that into a slightly different language, at the end of the course, the student should be able to solve such and such problems. That means what kind of problems you should be able to solve, that you must be clear upfront, not subsequently, not after you talk. Okay? You have to be clear about what kind of problems to solve am I training my student for. Then if I am very clear, these are the types of problems that the student has to solve. Then I will plan my teaching and learning also accordingly. That is, what is it that I should do in the classroom, or how should I train him so that he is capable of solving such and such a problem similar to this. That is it. That's why outcome-based education, when you design your course, first you have to write course outcomes, then you design your assessment. And then having designed the assessment, then you plan your instruction. How do I plan my classroom instruction, or how do I plan my assignments, how do I plan my, essentially that. Okay, how do I plan my instruction? You have to differentiate between teaching and instruction. Teaching is generally we refer to lecturing. Instruction means all the learning experiences that you want to plan, which we all do. Like when you are lecturing, you will pause and ask a few questions. Sometimes you may, sometimes you may not. But you ask a question, you want the student to respond. If their responses are not satisfactory, you will try to correct them. So that is one aspect of instruction. Or I can give a small problem in the class, ask everyone to solve. Or I want them to discuss among themselves a little bit and come with an answer. So these are all instructional experiences that I am planning. Whereas generally teaching, when we use the word, it is generally referred to only lecturing, one-way transmission of information. So we rather would, personally I would prefer to use the word instruction. But unfortunately, instructor has a negative connotation in colleges. While you would rather like to be called teachers rather than instructors. No. Instructor is a better version of a teacher. Okay. So coming back to what is an outcome. An outcome is what the learner will be able to do or perform. Like perform means laboratory experiment or whatever the project, they will perform as a result of some learning experience. In the context of formal education, Because learning experience we have all the time. You sit in a class like this, not even if you don't listen, you are learning something. What not to learn, maybe. Okay, so if you walk on the street, you are learning, you are observing something. But we are talking here mainly of formal education. That is where an outcome of an education is that what the student should be able to do at the end of a program or at the end of a course or an instructional. Okay. We just not want to stop at learning experience, but in a formal education, we have these units. Again, to tell you that this is not something that is anything new. Right from 1920, when people started looking at education in a more formal way, as a subject by itself, at school level or higher level, people started using different words to refer to the outcomes. So you have a whole bunch of these words I collected from the literature, from old papers, books, and so on. So people use the word outcomes, learning outcomes, intended learning outcomes, instructional objectives, behavioral objectives, a whole bunch of words that are used, which all mean the same. For example, in the American context, they don't use the word POs and PSOs. Or they will talk about learning outcomes. Everything is learning outcomes at the program level or at the course level. So words are, again, there is no universal acceptance of this terminology as yet. What is the value of writing these learning outcomes? First thing is, you are communicating to the students exactly what is it that you want them to learn. What is it that you want them to? Right now, how are you communicating? You are communicating syllabus and a list of topics. Which topic is more important? Or every topic will have to be learned? That we do not know. How does the student find out how he should learn each, to what level each topic should be learned or mastered? What does he know? You are not communicating, but he will still have to find a way. How does he prepare? If he doesn't know what is important, what is not important, the only way he finds is from the previous exam papers. That is what communicates to him. If he is able to capable of answering all those questions, then he has learned. It is independent of the teacher, right? Especially in a tier 2 institution. So that means in a tier 2 institution, technically, officially, teacher is decoupled from the learner. If you don't do anything in the classroom, still the student has to go and write the exam, right? So you cannot, that's why tier 2 institution is a totally an Indian concept, an Indian response to some impossible situation. That's all. Nowhere in the world, except maybe in Bangladesh or maybe Pakistan, I do not know. Nowhere in the world you have anything called tier 2 institution. That's an Indian creation. It should not have been, period. But that's where we are living with that. First of all, if you write your course outcomes properly, then the student is very clear what is it that he has to learn, unambiguously. And also he has to find out where exactly, if he wants to find out to what extent he has learned, it will also be clear. Okay? We are not doing an exercise of how to design your course in this kind of context. That would be a completely different type of workshop. Whereas it helps teachers to tell students more precisely what is expected of them and plan the content of their teaching. Let's say, I write a CO, a course outcome, And roughly I associate, let us say there are five classroom sessions that are required. And if I've written my CO well, then it will also help me how exactly do I plan my 5 sessions. Okay. So it helps, and it informs their colleagues and all stakeholders what an activity is designed to achieve. As I said, it serves an excellent communication among all the stakeholders and ensure use of appropriate assessment strategies. It depends on the nature of outcomes because all courses are not similar. You have a completely theoretical course which is descriptive in nature, or you have a completely mathematical course. You have a little bit of what do you call practical course, and so on. All courses are not the same. So to that extent, your assessment strategies will also have to be correspondingly adjusted depending on the nature of the course. And one of the things is to design a good course, you must have your assessment plan. What kind of assessments do I want to do? And they need not be identical, the same for all courses. It should not be, in fact. It depends on the nature of the course. If the college insists on it should be the same for all, then they are doing something. Then how do we do this? How do we prove that the students have attained these outcomes? So we set a target. Nobody can achieve 100% everywhere, right? So I will say each CMO is or all CMOs, that is a choice that you have. I set a target. A target, if the target is achieved, I consider practically all my students have attained these outcomes. Okay. And you compare the actual attainment of the outcomes by the students and compare it with the target. Let's say assume the target we express in terms of some percentage marks. Okay. If class average marks for all CMOs should be about 65%. Class average. And then I set the target and then I actually compute after the examination, pull all the things together and find out what is the attainment. And if it is, let's say, 63%, that means I'm falling short by 2% from the target. What is it that I should do? Can I do something next time the course is offered to improve the performance? But let us say I have set the target as 65, but actual average marks is 70. What do I do? That means maybe my estimation was wrong. I increase the target. So that is a mechanism of what we call continuous improvement. Set a target, measure, and then plan for improvement, and then again measure. Okay? That is how we do it. So here they compare it with the outcomes with this. When you want to travel, you do not get into the train and decide where you want to go, right? So you know what is the place you want to go and then plan according to that. So in the same way, outcome-based education is nothing but the goal defines the process, or what we call product defines the process. So first define where you want to go, and then plan accordingly. That is the what we call crux of outcome-based education, which looks very natural, but we haven't been doing natural things all along because of our own peculiar history. And part of the reason is we don't work in a department as a unit. Faculty don't work as a unit. Because if you look at other than electives, something like 60% or 70% of the program is core, right? When it is core, it is the responsibility of the entire faculty. I cannot say my role is only to teach this course and after that I don't have any response. So the first level step mentally you have to take is that the program is my responsibility. And every faculty member will have to feel that. Well, if you have come with a master's degree in electronics or civil engineering, we reasonably have. I may not be able to teach a particular course, but I know what is the relationship, why is it required? Or is my course feeding into the other course? What is the relationship between my courses or entire program? That every faculty must do that, and that kind of discussion the department should have to hear.